Well, Excel 2013 gets some nice enhancements here in Office 2013. We're going to take a look at a powerful feature right now that's going to save you a lot of time. It's called Flash Fill, and we're going to use this spreadsheet called No Obstacles Sport Customer Database to see it in action. So if you've opened it up from your exercise files, we'll go down to the bottom right-hand corner just to zoom out. The zoom slider has a minus sign off to the left. We'll just click that a few times till we get back to about 110%. It allows us to see each of the columns in our spreadsheet. And maybe we're missing one. So we have all of this information, and we need a new one here for login information. So we'll just type in login in cell G6. And when we hit enter, the login will follow a certain pattern. Maybe it's first name, last name, and then the rest of the string. Let's type it in like so. Evan.Santos, that's our first customer. We'll use the @ sign and type in no-obstacles-inc.com. Now when we press enter, you can see what happens. It's automatically looking like an email address. And now we want to repeat that for every single one of our customers. So we start to type in Micah's first name, M-I, and that's all we need. And you can see what's happening. Not only is going to flash fill the cell we're in, but every cell underneath. It's picked up that pattern. All we do is hit enter. Check it out. We just saved a ton of time. As we scroll down the list, you can see with so many customers how long that would take to enter those manually. So let's just go between G and H here and double click when we see the double arrow to automatically widen column G to fit our longest entry. Now the reverse is also true. Let's say we didn't have the first name and last name separated like this. Sometimes when you download information, maybe it's from a financial site, and you want to take pieces of information and split them up into their own columns, you can use Flash Fill to do that as well. Let's say we don't have a first name and last name column. And over here, just to the right of login in column H, we'll just click next to the first entry, which is Evan Santos. And we'll just type in his first name, Evan, press enter. Type in the next one, which is Micah, and as we start to type that, you can see each of the first names will be extracted. All we have to do is hit enter. And we'll go to the next column, and we'll type in the last name here, which is Santos. Hit enter. And then Harvey, and as we start to type Harvey, you can see the same thing happens. We press enter. We have all of the first names and last names now. Of course, we already have that information, so we don't need it here. Anytime you're using Flash Fill, you can hit escape to cancel the operation. In this case, because we did it, we're going to click and drag from H to I at the very top to highlight both columns, hit delete on the keyboard to remove that information. And as we scroll back, we have everything we need in our custom. Pivot tables and pivot charts are a great way to analyze data. If you've ever worked with them in previous versions of Excel, there's a new feature here in Excel 2013 you might like. It's called the timeline slicer or filter, and we're going to explore that now using this spreadsheet called No Obstacles Sport July 2012 Sales Report. And as you can see, it is a sales report for each of the days in July. So we have multiple sales on each of those days. You can see SKUs, colors, etc. Down below, there's a second tab labeled Pivot, and here's a pivot table showing us the individual days of the month and the total or sum of the sales for that day. So just make sure you're looking at cell A2. You can click there on row labels, and now we're going to use that slicer I was talking about called Timeline. It's brand new here in Excel 2013. One way to get to it is just to go to the Insert tab. And from here in the Filter section, you'll see next to Slicer, which we're already familiar with in previous versions of Excel, a new one called Timeline. We're going to click that, and automatically you're going to see a list of your tables to choose from. We only have this date one here, and we'll click that checkbox and then click OK. And that actually inserts our Timeline filter, which we can move around, which we can size by clicking and dragging the handles if you want to. And you'll notice that by default we're looking at various periods. Now if we go to July, nothing changes over here on the left-hand side because every one of those dates is in July. So wouldn't it be nice if we could filter, be more specific by clicking the drop-down here labeled months. We can choose years, quarters. There's months already checked off, and days. We're going to click days, and now we see the individual days in the month. There is a scroll bar that we can use to scroll through the various months and days. And like I said, we can resize this. Let's click and drag the right handle with the double arrow all the way out to column Q, for example. And now we can use this little scroll bar to scroll through and see the entire month of July. And notice every one of the days is kind of highlighted in blue. Want to see data for a specific day in July, maybe July 4th? You can see now our pivot table here displays data for that selected date. What about the first 10 days of the month? How did we do? We'll click and drag from 1 all the way to 10 under July, and we'll see data here, including the individual days and a grand total for how we did in sales for the first 10 days of the month. So that's just one example of using the new timeline slicer. If you're accustomed to working with pivot tables, pivot charts, you'll probably like this little feature that will save you some time when analyzing by date. I really like this next new feature in Excel 2013 that allows you to analyze data on the fly. It's called Quick Analysis. We're going to take a look at it now using this spreadsheet labeled No Obstacles Support July 2012 Sales Report. We're on the Data tab right now. And we're just going to scroll down a little bit. So what we're looking at the top is that first row of labels for each of our columns. This is going to give us a little bit of room for the quick analysis. And all we need to do to access quick analysis is highlight or select some data. So let's say we're interested in the first day of the month here and the various prices or sales. We'll click and drag from the first one, $12.75, down to the last one for July 1st, which is actually $12.94. You can see row 16. When you let go, notice a little icon that appears in the bottom right corner of your selection. That is the quick analysis icon. As you hover over it, you'll see some information about it, but go ahead and click that to see the different options you can analyze quickly. The first one being under Formatting, Data Bars. As you hover over that, you'll see a quick preview, if you were to select this, of what you get under Conditional Formatting. And it gives you an easy way to see your big sellers and your low sellers using a bar type chart. Move over to Color Scale and you can look at it that way. Looks like anything in red is pretty low. Our high numbers are in that nice dark green. Same thing goes for icon set. You can see arrows, maybe the top 10% because there's only 10 rows selected here. The top one you can see is $112.99. And if we want to just clear that formatting, we can do that with the Clear Format. But we also have charts if you wanted to take a look or preview some charts, like clustered column, for example. That's what it would look like. Clustered bar, line, scatter, and we can go to more charts if we wanted to. How about totals? Well, we can see the sum just by hovering over it, 446.23. What's the average price? Looks like 44.62. Count, there's 10 rows altogether. We can see percentages, running totals, and we can actually access more, like sums, averages, counts, running totals, for example. That's a nice one. Lots of options under totals. We can also go to tables for creating pivot tables. You can see previews of the tables that would be created depending on your selection. Remember, we haven't actually clicked anything here. We're just previewing it. It's a quick analysis. So the same thing under spark lines if you wanted to. Look at wins and losses. Not very useful data here. Let's go back to formatting and take a look at that color scale and click that. And you can see it's actually formatted using our selection. Now we can go back to that if we don't like it, click and drag over the selected or highlighted cells again, all the way down to Excel 2013 is designed to help you make better decisions, and it's going to do so by providing recommendations along the way. We're going to see an example of this now as we continue to work with our No Obstacles Support July 2012 sales report. Let's say we wanted to insert a chart based on some of this data. First, we'll select the data. Let's go right up to the heading over column A here and click to select the entire column. Now hold down Alt and Control and click at the very top of column E. We now have our two columns selected and we want to create or insert a chart based on this data. Of course, that means going to the Insert tab. We'll see something under Charts now called Recommended Charts. Yes, we could go directly to the chart of our choice, but why not have Excel recommend some charts? Charts that would best display this type of data. By clicking Recommended Charts, we open up a dialog, the Insert Chart dialog, with two tabs, Recommended Charts and All Charts. Now we're used to seeing all charts, but with recommended charts, we see the top choices as recommended by Microsoft Excel. Now we look at the scatter, the line, and the last one here, which is the clustered column. Not very useful, but this third one here does give us a nice visual display of the data. The stacked area chart is the one I have selected here, and I'm going to click OK to insert that right into my spreadsheet. And now once we have our chart, just like any other chart, we can click and drag it around. We can resize it. And of course, when we look to the top on the ribbon, we now have a Design and Format tab. I'm going to go to this 8th one here called Style 8, give it a click, and there's a nice looking chart based on a recommendation made by Microsoft Excel. I'd like to show you a brand new formula here in Excel 2013 that you might enjoy if you work with Roman numerals. Now, you're always able to create Roman numerals out of numbers. It would create text for you. For example, let's open up this No Obstacles Sport July 2012 Sales Report Short. It's a shorter version. We're going to convert these sizes to Roman numerals. So we'll just type Roman at the top here in column F, press return, and start the formula, which is equals, and we'll type Roman, an opening round bracket, and then we'll just select the cell D7 and close it up with a closing round bracket, press enter. And you see the Roman numeral for 7. And if we click in that cell, you'll look at the formula bar to see that it is a formula creating this text. Now we can click and drag from the bottom right corner of the cell to copy that formula all the way down to the end. And we'll go as far as row 69 and let go. So there's all our Roman numerals. What's new is the ability to convert that back. So if this is what you had in the first place, you could use a new formula, which is equals Arabic, and do the same thing with the open round bracket. Select the cell, close it up with the closing round bracket, press enter, and you now have your Arabic number. And this is a number, not text. And again, we could copy it down by clicking and dragging from the bottom right corner to convert our Roman numerals into Arabic numbers, just like that.